because I thought that we were a little bit far from our food supply, and the kids really didn't understand where eggs came from, and so we started a garden. We have a vegetable garden, so we have vegetables. They can see where those come from, and they can also see where eggs come from.
We got chickens because we wanted fresh eggs, and we wanted to know what our chickens were eating, what was going into the eggs that we were eating, and we had eggs from chickens that were allowed to graze and eat a variety of foods, and they are so much better than the store-bought eggs. And so those were some of the reasons.
Well, we have been involved with slow food, and we also like to know where our food comes from. And I watched several movies about raising chickens, how industry raises them, and it just turned me off completely. So I'm getting my own, and hopefully we'll have eggs in September.
Multifaceted answer. Didn't like things that I'm learning about the way animals are being kept. I think that animals are for our consumption, but they're also for our humane care. I think it was an opportunity to have a lifestyle change without having to move out to the country, although that seems like something we would like to consider doing in the future. Lots more layers to that answer, but those are a couple of the reasons.
Say our previous neighbor, we were going to get these guys last year, but our previous neighbor, we went over and talked to him, and he was like, no way, I don't want you to have chickens, you got to think about the neighbors and everybody's property value and so on and so forth. And I think that the issue was he grew up in the country, and when people had chickens in the country, it was lots and lots of chickens, and so the more chickens you have, the more mess there is. So as my husband said, so he was talking to somebody else, and they're like, oh, chickens are so dirty and nasty, and he said, well, how many chickens, so somebody had grandma in them, and he was like, well, how many chickens did your grandma have? Oh, 50, and he's like, well, imagine 50 dogs versus 1 dog or 4 dogs or whatever. And so she's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. So
you can't tell them from the other birds.
A responsible chicken owner, then your chickens don't smell bad, they are very quiet, they're no more of a nuisance certainly than dogs or cats are way gross.
I think they're very clean, and they're really quiet. If we keep the area clean, I think they stay clean.
So from them being a nuisance, I would say they're no more, they could be no more annoying than somebody's dog you might hear barking in the distance.
As long as you clean up, and take care of their coop, then the smell, they're animals and they have a smell, but it won't be that bad as long as as long as you take care of them, and they're really not that hard to take care of. We live in a place where we hear cars all day long, loud music, airplanes, helicopters, we hear sirens going by, we hear dogs barking. There are so many sounds, and you probably can't even hear the chickens right now. The sounds that they make compared to all those other things are minimal.
Biggest things, their concerns were having a rooster. Most people have the misunderstanding, and I did too until I began looking into having chickens, that a rooster was required. And once they found out that there would be no rooster hanging out at our household, they were much happier with that idea.
Everybody asks me though, where's the rooster, and how am I going to have eggs without a rooster? That's the biggest question, I guess.
I did speak to them before we got the chickens, and most of them thought I was out of my mind. It's a little bit of a different idea in our neighborhood. I remind some of the older folks that what's old is new again. Many of them raised chickens on farms where they had lots and lots of chickens, and so they remember them as just being dirty, loud animals. And I've encouraged them to look at the handful of chickens that most backyarders would have as being a different way of raising chickens. So from their experiences of having hundreds of them. And some of the other neighbors are hoping that, that they'll get some eggs out of me, and I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. So.
Actually, my neighbors love them, especially the neighbors over there. They really love them. They come over and watch. We sit out here at night because they have a whole routine going to bed. So at 8 o'clock they start doing this dance, and the neighbors come and we line up lawn chairs and have movie night.
So far, our neighbors really think they're fun. So we asked him, oh, is this a problem? He's like, oh no, I like watching them, they're fun. And then the neighbor over here, she said, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. She just moved in. And she said, oh, I'm so happy because I was thinking about doing it too. So she's really happy about it.
The neighbors like the chickens. These neighbors here, one chicken got out the first few days we had them and was in the front yard, and they managed to catch this chicken, I don't know how, and returned her to our front porch. So.
Having chickens just sort of encourages neighborliness. Like, we've had a lot of neighbors come by and check them out and, like, you know, want to learn about them and pet them and stuff. And then if anybody complains, you know, just give them some eggs, usually. Like, the eggs are so much better than the eggs from the store because they're eating like such a varied diet, and they're out in the you know, nature and getting exercise and getting, you know, eating fresh greens and bugs and stuff.
They are hilarious. They're pretty fun. So I work from home, so during the day I come outside and take a break and watch the chickens for a little bit sometimes.
I think they're great pets. I think they're probably better, I mean, because you get something usable from them. You eat eggs, you know, so you get a product, but they're also like I was picking them up and petting them. They're friendly, they're cuddly, you know. You can.
I'd like to see like communities, like neighborhoods, have a place where the whole neighborhood could share in the chickens and maybe a garden. I think we need to get back to that sort of thing.